Hi, welcome. We're doing web presentations this week, and this week's work will be more practical in nature. You will get to start practicing designing a web presentation for your own assessment for using the material from your hard news story. And if you don't have it ready at this point, which is understandable, you could just use a mock story. So we're just basically going to be looking at how news organizations are presenting the information to their audiences, depending on who they want to reach out to. So what we're going to do is to just take a look at some of the news organizations' websites. Very simply, let's just start with the UK's BBC.com. If you're using this already, you would notice how they like to use a lot of boxes. And it's quite simple design, but it gets the message across. And it's in line with how BBC presents their news, a very plain English, simple, no fanfare about it, but straight to the point. And you can see on their front page that they have the AstraZeneca story as a main lead, or as the top news story of the day, and also some softer stories on the side, maybe second in line news stories about the test holiday and New Zealand's policies on miscarriages. So this is how we can consider presenting your own hard news presentation for assessment for. Now, you're not required to build a website um, like this, but you're required to present a story within a website like this. So could just consider what fonts you're going to be using, what spaces, what pictures, what sizes of graphics that you may decide to employ to accompany your assessment for. Now, what we want to also bring across is the elements of advertising that comes on an online page. This is targeted to people who are interested in probably European and UK news and international news of an international standard. So you can see how the targeted advertisements are working here. So it's not just the news headline that organizations are presenting now, but also knowing that their audiences are also looking for other information. This is the best way to get their attention. So considering all the other elements, there's a weather here for based on where my IP is. So they present Singaporean weather as the closest weather forecast to us, and they also have a UK university website advertisement here. So this is called audience targeting, as you probably hopefully have read the reading about how certain newsrooms and I suppose media companies are thinking just beyond presenting the news headlines and information to educate and inform the public, but they're also using this space here to to make money, because news organizations will need their revenue to pay their journalists, to pay their photographers. So consider this is like their marketplace here when they're presenting news. Let's just take a look at maybe something that we tend to talk about on Discord, which is Vox.com has a very different style of presenting news, perhaps a little bit more catchy. They use multiple fonts. They have different sort of ads. And if you've been following the Vox stories, they also have lots of videos and documentaries to watch as well, and graphics, which are great to add an element to your own story. Okay, so you feel free to go through the Vox site on your own. I just want to bring the attention to perhaps a local site for Malaysian readers, very local news, and the advertising on there is also very targeted, very local, depending on where you're viewing from. It's targeting that sort of ads, and it just brings home to the fact that news organizations are not only just presenting news anymore, but it's also um, becoming that online marketplace for a lot of people. Let's just maybe go quickly to one last one. The NHK is quite a simplistic site. Perhaps it also fits into the culture of Japanese readers. Of course, they have all different languages to fit in the audiences they want to reach. And they use a very clean background here and lots of hashtag to perhaps tap on to the whole hashtag use of uh, making a certain content viral and getting a community around it to share. So these are some of the elements that you can consider when you're presenting your hard news presentation. In this NHK is primarily a video site, a TV site. They have a TV channel, right? But they also put a lot of their work on a website in case people, don't want to watch TV. They just want to scroll and just pick and pause on what content they want to watch. Now, because you're doing a print story, videos are not required unless you find some elements that perhaps you can enhance your own hard news presentation. But this is another consideration of news organizations these days in presenting. Just notice that a lot of sites use wide and white spaces. Why? It's easier to read. Maybe it's harder on the eyes on the screen. Some maybe tone it down to sepia or more reader friendly sort of background. But generally keeping it clear, keeping it rather simple will help readers navigate a little better when they are scrolling for the latest news. Perhaps maybe we look at one more. Malaysia Kini is another online site that is, has been around in Malaysia for 20 odd plus years. And look at the way they sort of present their front page. So when you are looking at how you're going to be doing, you notice all the elements here can be included in your presentation, perhaps an interactivity box, perhaps a headline that uses simple fonts, and again, back to the white spaces. So when you are designing your assessment for that presentation of your hard news story, think about how your readers will respond to your page, and think about how they can effectively get the message that you are trying to present without cluttering, without bombarding your readers with too many messages. So we'll hopefully look at some practical work this week, and that will help you get some feedback into presenting your piece for assessment 4. And please do try and attend the tutorial and work on the activity, because good feedback will help fine-tune and effectively deliver your assessment 4.